unhelpful thinking patterns in motherhood.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a really important
topic.
Not just for new mums, but for mums of teenagers, mums of toddlers, mums that are now empty nesters. See you later. Off you go to the UK or Australia or America, wherever it is, to do your studies. So the first one that I've got is the perfection.
Oh, I don't think I ever had it, but you go for it.
I bet.
Genuinely didn't. Go on, tell us. What did that entail?
So there are some of these that I've experienced, but no, I didn't. I'm sure we've all had our birth stories, and my first birth story was not the easiest, so that perfection had to go out the window. But as a new mum, the idea of everything has to be perfect, everything has to look a certain way, how your home looks, how you parent, how you even look and present yourself at the school gates.
I'm now remembering that I did do all of these things. So it was not nearly close to perfect, but just the idea that it should be a certain way. And if it's not, then it's not enough.
And just also, I don't think it helps that there's a lot of information, aesthetically pleasing information out there that makes it look like it's so simple. Yeah. But it's not. And I'm trying to think of a really simple sort of perfection example, that your lunches, even lunch boxes, having to be these bento box sushi extravaganzas.
True, right? Like we are lucky enough to have a nanny, obviously, and she was making the lunches, and then for whatever reason, even though I was working and had a new baby, I just got into my head that it should be me making the lunches. For no other reason than I just had this idea that mothers should make the lunches.
Yes,
okay. This lasted a week, so don't worry. But I just put that added pressure because of one little thought, that what I see on Instagram, and I should be paying more attention to what is going in the lunch boxes. And more important than that, I should be the one to actually because obviously food to me is like a way of showing love, you know?
Well, so, culturally, right?
It's like, that's how I express love. Like, this is literally...
Married to Lebanese, but I'm married to a Serbian, and I'm Polish. Yes, I was raised in Australia, but food is how we connect.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, what is happening if I can't be the one to cut my kids' sandwiches? Yeah. So these kinds of, I guess they're just...
Can weigh heavily.
Can really weigh heavily, more heavily than they need to.
Yes.
And the idea of perfection, obviously we know that this is unobtainable. We're not robots, so there's no such thing as perfection, but the millions of ways that can play out in your parenting journey can be incredibly draining.
And it can also be draining for the kids.
Oh, I'm so glad you raised the kid. That is such an important point, because I know for the parent, it's incredibly, really energy draining. But as a child on the receiving end of that, because obviously you're transferring that all onto them, right? That expectation.
And they're like sponges. Yes. They see it, they feel it. They can tell. If you think that they can't, then unfortunately you're mistaken. I think there's a lot of mums out there that do run that perfection. The clothes have got to be a certain way when we go out, even. I think I even tell my nanny not to iron the kids' clothes anymore.
Keep it real.
It doesn't matter what sneakers they're wearing. Yeah. It really doesn't. And I think if you fall into that trap, it can turn a little bit ugly. So I think what I want to say is you got to embrace the messy, and you got to embrace the imperfect, and you got to give yourself that grace. It's okay break. Nothing is perfect in motherhood. So for the new mums out there, if there are any listeners out there, like between us, we have 6 kids, 6 boys, from 1 right up to 14 years of age. Yeah. Even just from a teenager perspective, trying to have that perfect, we have to have tutors for every subject, and we don't. If they're falling behind, you have a chat with the teacher and make it strategic, not just because everyone's got the tutors. And the extracurricular activities that we all feel we need to overschedule the kids with.
My family, they're still younger children, but I'm watching you parent. I'm watching like my other friends that have older children parent. And like they are racing, the mums and the dads are racing from one activity from one end of this is a full-time gig. I actually don't know how the logistics actually work.
It's insane.
It's insane. Do you know where this played out for me? It was like over the summer and it was the best thing I did. But my Instagram feed was full of parenting experts. And I was already feeling sensitive about the way I was parenting the kids and feeling a little bit overwhelmed. And I was trying to keep up with all the different like parenting advice sort of channels that were sharing information with me. Well-intentioned information, but how I was perceiving it or how I was processing it was feeling that I am not doing enough, I am not good enough, I am not evolved enough as a parent, I am breaking my kids. And it just got to the point where it was so loud, all the advice, that my only option was honestly to delete Instagram off my phone. Like I just couldn't handle one more piece of well-intentioned advice about how I needed to parent.
A lot out there.
Oh,
a lot at the moment. I've felt that as well. I've also noticed a lot about parenting teenagers.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've just recently, if your social media.
Mine's still picking up, I guess, because it's smart and it knows that I have young kids and what is it called? Big Little Feelings. And they're just giving such great advice in isolation. But when I hear it all together, it's just like shouting at me. And it's bizarre because I was going down the rabbit hole on a feed and it's like, what deems someone to be a parenting expert? Do they have really amazing adult kids? How do you become a parenting expert? I don't know.
What is it that you did? I love the advice. Show me.
Show me your adult child that's doing
amazing. Show me your adult child.
And then I'll follow. And I just think parenting is such a personal thing. And
it's what works for your family.
That's what I think.
That's with the perfectionism as well. If it works and it doesn't have an effect on your quality of life and you're not getting up at 5 a.m. to do things that you probably don't need to be doing, like cleaning, I don't know, like lunch boxes and getting your out.
The lunch bento box to wow the other 5-year-olds. Do you know, I guess the bit that was like most concerning to me is the fact that parenting is such an individual experience and you know your children better than anyone else. And when we lose connection with our own wisdom about what's right and wrong and constantly seek the expert, it's fine to seek expertise, but at some point you have to reconcile it with what you know and feel is the right thing for you and your family.
Yes, because it's just like our DNA. There is no family that mimics yours. It is impossible that we're all, okay, fine, on a surface level, yes, we're all dealing with teenagers that want to slam doors and tell you that they hate you. Yes, okay, tick, fine.
Yeah.
And toddlers, yes, they'll have tantrums. Yes, they'll cry. They'll pull things off shelves.
But there's no formula. There's no magic formula to talk a toddler down from a tantrum.
Exactly.
Common sense.
Which brings me on to my next one, which is that control and predictability. So like motherhood is so unpredictable. Yeah, you cannot control anything.
Didn't know I was a control freak till I had kids. Didn't know. I wasn't one and then became one.
Me too. Yeah. It's scary to see that and find that out. Yeah. That you run. That unhelpful pattern. But what's important is you recognize it and you try and keep it at bay.
How did that play out for you? Like some of the thoughts that go through my mind, it's like my 5-year-old would come to me and say something like, obviously with my therapist hat on, I'd hear it and the prickles on my skin would go up. I'm like, oh my God, he already has anxiety. And I would want to control every element of him not experiencing anxiety. And I really had to talk myself down in that instant. Like he is going to feel anxiety. He is going to feel anger. Yeah. He is going to feel XYZ.
Yeah.
And me trying to manipulate his environment not to feel those things.
No.
I caught myself. I'm like, really? Everything I know, I just did the complete, fell straight into that trap.
You cannot cushion and change an environment for someone. They have to see it and feel it for themselves. But what we can do as parents is teach our kids the skill. Once you fall into the trap of wanting to control, then you're lost. If you're you're already out of control. I think with me, you know what it was? I don't know if listeners would agree. I don't know if you would either. But for me, the control around academics. It took me a while to understand that each of my kids learns differently and that they may excel in science and English, but not in math. And I can't control that.
Yes.
I can assist and help and provide, but I'm not going to be the one that can control it. And making peace with they're going to learn differently. They're not going to be able to be great at every single thing. But also, and this is back to kids are sponges, they can feel it, they see it, allowing them to also know that so that they don't feel the complexes of, I'm not good in this area, everyone else
should be,
and I know that mum's doing certain things because she thinks I should be too. So I think that area of control is not so good, and I'm still learning with this.
Is this like your Polish upbringing as well?
You know, you're going to do like 3 things: doctor, lawyer, engineer.
I love my Indian parents. I'm like, how do you do that? How do you have a doctor, and an engineer? How did you do that? Tell me how you did that. No, I do take that point. And I think down the other end with my little ones, it plays out. It plays out differently, but when you have 3 kids and they're all so different, and one of them very textbook sweet and kind and gentle, and then one that is, I don't know, he reminds me of Tarzan. Like he's just swinging off the rafters, and that's okay.
That's okay.
But in my head and my upbringing, you're supposed to be sitting down and reading a book. What are you doing?
And,
climbing the walls?
Quietly.
And quietly.
It's even like when we go visit back home, our parents, like you can really see the difference in generational parenting.
They're judging us so much.
I just think, hold on. Had maybe I had been spoken to like that, maybe I could have been doing
even more
thinking,
amazing. I think you're amazing, boss.
But do you know what I mean? Like
I do.
We're not doing this new whole parenting.
What's it called? Not
gentle parenting. Yeah, gentle parenting isn't about letting our kids get away with everything.
No,
I think people have taken the term and
run with it.
You just got to be gentle to your kids and let them do whatever they want to do. No,
boundaries are an act of love. Like that's the
absolutely. You have to have boundaries. And they must learn the word no. No is a sentence.
And I'd rather they learn it from me first than the real world where they'll also hear it.
Or they'll have a boss that couldn't care less about their emotions and how they're feeling that day. And they should be able to address that and roll with that.
So just bringing it back to the expat experience, because obviously I never imagined in my wildest dreams that when I never imagined not having my children in Australia. I never imagined that I would be having them in Dubai, let alone all 3 of them. I never, ever imagined that my youngest baby hasn't even met their grandparents yet. He's 1.5 years. So there's these uniquely things that are specific to mums or parents that are expats. What do you think some of the sort of mental health challenges are associated with, because it's a massive like milestone, starting a family and the various developmental milestones that come with that is life-changing in a lot of ways. Some beautiful things with it, but also some real I don't want to like minimize it, but I definitely struggled during one of my pregnancies with my own mental health and realized this is hard, very hard. And I think part of it for me was in Australia, I would have been around my family and friends and normal support structures, whereas this was faraway land that I didn't know the medical system as well as turned out to be, I think, an advantage actually delivering here in retrospect. But at the time, it's super overwhelming. And my obstetrician said the best thing to me for my first pregnancy. I said to him, look, I am prone to anxiety and I'm worried that I'm going to have postnatal depression or something like that because my mum had it. And he said, Katrina, the most important thing is if you are feeling like that, you have to let us know. And truly, the most simple thing. And I just knew after I delivered, I was paying attention to my own headspace. And I knew that I had promised him that if that was what I was feeling, I had to speak to that. Instead of saying, it's fine, I'm just tired or whatever it is, that there is supports here that can help you. You don't have to do this alone.
It's so important to bring that up because postnatal depression is such a delicate subject and everyone experiences it a very unique way. And what I would say definitely to any new mums out there who are listening, that do not wait.
Yeah.
If there is a sadness, feeling you're overwhelmed, you must seek support.
And can I just jump on that and say how to do that? A lot of people that may not have accessed like mental health supports through a therapist, psychologist, might feel like really daunted, but really it can be as simple as going to a good GP and saying, I'm feeling this. Can you direct me? Do you know a therapist that can help me with this? You don't have to start looking up down that rabbit hole.
No,
you could just tell your GP,
very simple,
your general practitioner,
yes,
I'm feeling this, and can you connect me with someone that can help me?
Yeah, and it is so important for you, number one, and for the health of your baby, for your relationship with your partner and the family. But number one, you. And that self-care is not selfish.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So I wanted to do the comparing yourself to other mums.
Eesh.
How do you do it? How do you make it look so easy? That mindset and comparing Instagram, the reality, which is not really the reality. There's a lot of production that happens behind the scenes there to make that happen. Social media,
I can't even look at it because it's just too overwhelming for me, too close to home. But I think also we're seeing a snapshot at any one time. You don't know what's going on.
Every family situation is completely different, as we were saying earlier. You cannot compare.
Impossible to compare, and also it doesn't
Which is
benefit.
why earlier when you were saying what makes you a parental expert, how could you possibly know what I'm going through? I get like surface level bits and pieces, but you can't take half the advice so seriously.
And I think that's the distinguishing point.
Yeah.
And I just think when you like compare and despair, like the whole social media thing or just in life, in real life examples, you want to say, oh my gosh, this used to always like really upset me because I just find playing with the kids, I've got like 15 minutes in me to like play and then I'm like, I'm out. Can we just sit down and like watch TV? I know that's the worst thing to admit. I really struggle with like playing with them on their level and I feel so inadequate about that. So when I see mums on the floor rolling around,
even dads.
And
I see some amazing dads out there.
My husband's amazing at it. He's like, do you want to build a tower? I'm like, what? Like, I love that. But even in just those really innocent ways and it's like, oh, I wish I was more like that. But I'm great in other ways, I think.
That's important. There will be things that you're good at that your partner isn't.
Yeah.
And that your partner's really good at and that you're not. And allow that to happen. It's that teamwork.
Yeah. And not trying to be everything. In what other role in our lives do we try and be everything? Apart from being a parent. It's like, I need to be all the things.
I need to be a great cook. I need to be...
Impossible.
Therapist, a nurse, a taxi driver.
But this, I think, is a generational thing because I don't think our parents were doing that.
I can assure you.
No.
My mum was not. So it's interesting because when I was thinking about these unhelpful thought patterns, I was thinking, did my mum ever run any of these? And I can, without a shadow of a doubt, say no. I'm not saying that's also the right way to go about it, but it's interesting how we've evolved as mothers and instead of with all the information that we have, the textbooks, the books, the experts, that this and that these are unhelpful thought patterns that many mums run that I can assure you our parents did not.
Yeah. And in this modern day parenting, I think I told you about it, but like Brene Brown, was it Brene Brown? Someone really influential was saying they were being interviewed and she's like, we don't have a child-focused family and we don't have a parent-focused family. We have a family-focused family.
Yes.
I just think that encapsulates what modern day parenting needs to be because it isn't just all about the child.
No.
And equally, we don't want it to always be about the parent. And but as a dynamic together, this makes a healthy sort of family unit.
And you also don't want it to be about one particular child.
Correct.
In the family, the one particular child that maybe is excelling at sport or academics or whatever it is, and all your energy is going into doing all this because you just do it naturally. You have to be family orientated nowadays. And so what does that look like? That looks like my partner, my husband, is coming home late from work, and he can't take someone somewhere. And sorry, you're going to miss whatever you've got to do. And this weekend, or we're going to have to say no to that social outing. Yeah. Because we went to one last weekend. Yeah. And the kids were at home with the nanny. Yeah. And we need to spend some time together. It can't be 2 weekends. Yeah. I mean, it can.
It can. If that works for your family.
If that works for your family, it's not the point. But for other families, that doesn't work.
And I think what it also teaches children is, my husband and I were so confused when our 6-year-old was like, what are we doing for me today? What on earth is this conversation?
Mine are the same.
It's important for them to also know that everyone in the dynamic needs to be relatively happy, and mum and dad need to be happy, and you guys need to be happy. And that's life, right? Like balancing things out. It teaches them how to be a good partner. It teaches them how to have healthy relationships in other respects.
Yes.
Because to have a situation where it's at the cost of the parents or at the cost of the kids is not helpful.
No.
It's not teaching them.
And it's not healthy mentally.
And what I want to just conclude on today, Von, and I know we've talked about this before, and that is the fact that a lot of the advice out there for parents, well-intentioned as it is, and even with the advice that we're giving you today, take it with a grain of salt. Take on board. We have just established that we don't think there are parenting experts. It's impossible. Yep. So you take on board what resonates with you, what feels right for you. But a point that was made that I just thought was really valid was, when we look at a lot of the advice given, it's particularly geared to mothers, I'd say, particularly on social media. Yeah. Always be wary of the advice that does not honour and place importance on the mother and the well-being of the mother. So we can aim for perfection. We can aim to be playing on the floor and making the lunches and. Okay, all with the guise of having wonderful, happy children. But if that is at a cost to the mother, then this is not sustainable, and this is not something that we would want to encourage.
100%. A happy, healthy mother is a better mother than one that's
stretched
to
cater to every need in the family but her own.
I think the key takeaway is for listeners to have a think about some of their unhelpful thought patterns.
Awareness to it.
Even time expectancy. There are so many mums out there that will have a baby and then be like, okay, I need to lose my baby weight within 3 months. Yeah. Because that's what I see on social. No. That's not sustainable, and it's not healthy. And just back to our listeners, have a think about some of the things that maybe you run and be aware of them. Reach out and let us know about these stories. It's a community. We'd like to hear about them. What were the unhelpful thought patterns? How are you addressing them? How are you not addressing them? And let's start a conversation. You've got this.